Make this short presentation today about the contribution of satellite imagery to this type of exercise. E-Geos, you know us already because we are official part of the consortium since several years, but we are part of the Telespazio and Leonardo group, and we are in charge of all the satellite observation, in particular related to our constellation, Cosmos Skymed. It's an Italian radar constellation, and just recently we launched another satellite, which I think is going to be pretty interesting for these activities up here in the north. Fanny, you want to join me? So what we did, we organized with work with the Norwegian Meteorological Office just to have a case studies and have an interactive discussion with you about how these products and services might be useful for you.
Do we need a microphone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we do. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to present a presentation that relies on imagery like this, but this will be the time, I think, for you guys to use the binoculars on your table. So I want to show you our area of interest and why we chose this. So we actually, as you can or cannot see, thank you. I do see people are taking advantage of the binoculars. So as you can see, that we chose an area in northeast Greenland for our area of interest on the Fram Strait, and it's covered by ice. And the reason why is because, as you see, we have no ice around us right now because we're in the summer season around Svalbard. But we worked together with E-Geos to show this area of interest because this is actually a good area of sea ice where it's very dynamic. You can see a really good area of marginal ice zones, the ice edge, and because we wanted to show some good imagery from the second generation of Cosmos Skymed, we wanted to actually challenge the products. And so we actually think that with the changing Arctic, we're going to expect to see a lot more first-year ice that's going to be the more dominant ice regime than multi-year ice, so then we're going to expect a lot more unpredictable conditions, more fragmentation, and so for us, from the Norwegian Ice Service, our job is to actually provide better information, improvements, so that navigators can do a lot better risk assessment and have an understanding of the situational awareness. So therefore, the need for improved information to support this is very important for us. So as you see, this is an ice chart, and our mandate is to monitor the sea ice between Greenland and Russia. And so we provide sea ice charts between Monday through Friday in a routine way. So in a situation if there's an incident or risk assessment, what we can offer is that navigators can call us up, and we have very, very expert ice analysts that can give you the information on the history of the sea ice. They can give you information where it's going to go, so the short-term sea ice forecast based on the sea surface temperature and the wind conditions. That's what we have right now. So we want to actually prepare for the future, and so we certainly invite industry to contribute to allow us to look at more products. But I can say from a service perspective, what our strength is that we can offer the quality assessment and overall look at the quality of this for our users. We know the users, so what we would like to have is to look at these products over a period of time to see how well it suits our users and how useful it is. So I'm going to give this over to Donatella so you can look at some images. And this will be the first time that we can also look at the second generation of these products, so it's new for all of us.
Yeah. The idea was in ARCSAR to develop best practices and work on innovation. So that's why we thought to concentrate the attention on Cosmos second generation, as mentioned before. The satellite is a continuation of the first generation program and includes dual pole and quad pole characteristics that for the expert are going to be, I think, pretty interesting for this type of ice services. So you cannot see, but first of all, let me thank my colleagues in Rome because this is always a joint work. So the images have been tasked and programmed for this exercise by my customer service and operational department, Axel O'Donnell and his team. And the ice maps have been produced by innovation department, so under the supervision of Luca Brianera and of the team for the ice drift and the ice concentration model. It's always a teamwork. when you will come closer, you will see that we have several types of size of images that you can acquire according to the resolution. So the bigger the area, the less resolution you have, the shorter, the smaller the area, the higher resolution. And this gives you an idea of the details that you can see on the various images according to the resolution and size. What is important is that not only the resolution and the revisit, because for coping to emergency you need several satellites and the constellation is adapted for that, is also that the increased revisit time that you can have at this latitude, because these satellites have polar orbit. So we are lucky in this case, and we have several passes per day. The additional advantage is that radar. So in a day like this, an optical image will see only clouds, while with radar you can detail a lot of information. So that's why we use radar in the Arctic region. What we have done, we have developed an ice drift map. So based on the combination of two images, what we can do, we can extrapolate where the ice is going or where the ice is moving. And this map can be important for a captain if, for example, we have done a project with our Navy during the last 4 years, during the summer campaign. What we do, we acquire the images ahead of the route, as if you were additional ice in front of you, and report back to the captain and to the headquarters, so that they could have a view of what they are going to expect in terms of ice in front of them. And why? Because more than coping with emergency during the real event, we want to work as we'll say during these last days, to prevent accidents like this. So we really want to use satellite imagery to support the pre-planning of the route. This is key for us. So we have developed this ice drift map, and especially at this latitude, these maps can be acquired within 1 hour. So then it depends on where you download the imagery. But here in the Arctic, we are cooperating with KSAT. So KSAT is one of our partners, and they are receiving our data in Svalbard. So after the data is downloaded, you can have the original data within 15 minutes from sensing. Then obviously E-Geos is working on the drift map and on the ice concentration map. If you are in other area of the world, we have our other agreement in place. So that's why we have an extended network of partners with whom we cooperate to support us in the data acquisition. So here I have a few examples, and when you will get closer, you will see the time. So here, this was from 6:35 p.m. to 6:55 p.m. And I have another example. This is from 6:55 to 7:12. And we have performed all these ice drift maps that give you the idea of the changing condition of the ice. They are pretty quick, as you know, better than I do, in this area. And again, another one from 4:35 in the morning to 4:32 in the morning. So as you can see, the frequency is within 1 hour and sometimes even less than 20 minutes. You have additional imagery. E-Geos is a prime contractor for Copernicus for the emergency management services. That means that we have already 30 people on shift that cover 24/7 activities. And this is why E-Geos is also in this project, because we are used to work with emergencies. So we want to work on a pre-planning of the route. We can work also in the emergency situation. And you want to say something? We have done also a nice concentration map based on the quad-pole characteristics of Cosmos second generation. And obviously, this one to show that Cosmos Skymed, in combination with other satellites like Sentinel-C, for example, that we use it as initially Penny was mentioned, to identify the large area of interest and other satellite data. We can produce also this ice concentration map again to support the captain and the navigation in the pre-planning of the route. Here you will have details of the images, so you can really appreciate the quality, and we will share the original data with the few experts that we are identifying, because clearly you need a certain level of knowledge to work with satellite imagery. What instead is what we can provide is the derived services, and the derived services are going to be easier for all the users that are also here and are not really expert. So here the quad-pole image at 3-meter resolution, and so on. So these are more or less the details that you can see, and I'll show you later. I'm sorry about that. So especially in combination, there were some initial consideration that with Penelope we have been discussing during these last days, also listening to your presentation and the interesting discussion we had on board. So thanks to ARCSAR for the opportunity. We not only is that we are working for the ICE services and to support navigation, but this type of service can have a multi-purpose scope, because you could use it to, again, as a deterrent to observe blue navigation of the ship. So there is a high concern for the impact that increased navigation might have in this beautiful region. And for ECHO, EMSA is already doing this, but the scope of EMSA sometimes is limited, and it depends again on the budget and the type of availability. So it doesn't mean that we cannot, on top of EMSA, add additional project to have specific monitoring requirements here in this region. There are not only environmental, there are also security concerns and so on. So I listen with great attention to the AECO presentation, okay? And I was surprised to hear, and so it was very interesting for me to know that in advance the signs of interest that the ships are going to, and that you have even to book the site. If you are able to book the site and you have a list of statistics, that means that you know already which site could be monitored. So I could already establish and set up a monitoring program on the main site of interest where you have the majority of the accidents, statistically speaking, and start monitoring this. And you could include this information into your database and have a regular monitoring, because I was surprised to hear that you know that in advance. So anything we can do to prevent an accident, work in advance, it would be better for the safety of the people, of the crews, but also of the cargoes and of the environment. So this is, I think, also is an interesting development on which we learn from here, and we could discuss later on if you're interested. And since AECO has this important role also coordinating all these activities with all the cruise operator, especially for this specific market segment, I think it could be a pretty good example of innovation that we could bring to ARCSAR. So obviously this was just a small test case. We performed just a very limited number of acquisitions because we have a lot of commercial projects ongoing right now. But feel free to ask and to come back to me and Penny to discuss after the presentation, also to have a look at the images. And we encourage you also to give us your feedback, because these are important for improving our product and services as well.